I, 27 male, have loved making stuff since I was a kid, and I've worked with everything from wood to paint, welding and even fabric, which is what this situation is about. I made my wife's dress since she couldn't find one that fit her style and our budget. It wasn't my first time making clothes, but I certainly wasn't an expert, nor am I now for that matter. However, the dress turned out amazing and everyone complimented it on our wedding day. Most were surprised I was the one who made it, but my sister-in-law, Sarah, 25, was extremely put off when she found out. She took my wife aside during the reception to ask if she was really okay marrying a guy who made dresses, and apparently made some awful remarks. My wife told me all this the day after. Ever since, Sarah has been cold to me and treats me like I have the plague. Like she isn't outright mean, but she doesn't talk directly to me aside from pleasantries. It kinda hurts, but whatever. I don't generally see her since she lives in another state. Sarah recently got engaged to a boyfriend of 3 years and asked me to make her a dress. I've made wedding dresses for a few friends and a couple of my wife's cousins, but I don't really want to make one for her. She's offered to pay me for my work, but that's not the issue. It feels like she likes my work but doesn't respect me. Heck, even disrespects me for making dresses. I told her this and that I knew about the remarks she made on my wedding day, and she got mad, saying I'm being an idiot for holding something that happened years ago over her. I brushed it off, but my wife's family is hounding me about it, saying I shouldn't deny her the dress when I've done it for other family members. I came here because my dad told me I was being an idiot and to just take the money. My wife supports me no matter what I decide. Am I the idiot for refusing to make my sister-in-law a wedding dress? Not the idiot. OMG, OP, please don't do this. She's already standoffish and disdains you. She's going to be a nightmare. She's the type to work with you, agree on a design, let you do the mock-up, then tell you 3 weeks later that she has a different vision. Rinse, lather, repeat, followed by crocodile tears about you ruining the most important day of her life because you refused to listen to what she wanted. Tell the people harassing you to chip in and pay somebody else. Her idiocy and that of everyone enabling her is infuriating to my little seamstress heart. Right? I deserve to have this $20,000 designer dress but can't afford it. Surely someone can make an exact replica for me out of this thrift store dress and $15 for extra supplies. Of course, she probably has no idea on what a tailor-made wedding dress costs. I would stay away from that mess and let the woman find her own wedding dress. Have you seen the meme with a picture of a very elaborate Cinderella-esque ballroom gown with the text, "Can you make this for me if I buy the materials?" All sister-in-law needs to do is hire some magic mice. Witchety crotchety poo. Oh man, the point is materials aren't crap without the person's time and energy to make it happen. So you're right. OP, you owe her nothing. And your family needs to understand that what Sarah thinks about you and what she said to your wife was unacceptable. I'm nuclear. I'd literally make a Facebook spilling everything and lamenting the nerve and audacity she has to come back after no apology in years. No dress for Sarah the bully. Personally, I'd book yourself and your wife a vacation away the day of the wedding if I were you. If you were so inclined, take the estimate for the dress, multiply it by 3 and that's what you tell her. It's your, I don't want to do it, but I will if you show me the money's price. Make sure you include the cost of the fabric, notions, wear and tear on your machines and a living wage by the hour for yourself. Payment in full up front before a single stitch or yard of fabric is ordered. Not sure where you're based, but in my region that would put the cost of the dress up around $30,000. For $30,000 I'd make my worst enemy a dress. I might hand-stitch tiny curses into the seams, but I do the dress, pocket the money and laugh all the way to an awesome vacation. Good luck in whatever you decide. My husband and I have 5 kids between us. He had 2 from a previous relationship, a tween and a young teen. I have 1 teen and we have 2 together, toddler and grammar schooler. Our older child is autistic. She's verbal, but she doesn't like strangers and doesn't talk to them. I was worried about taking her trick-or-treating, but I know she practiced at school and we practiced the signs, "Candy please" and "Thank you." It was going well at first, then she started to get tired. At one of our last houses, she didn't speak or sign. The woman was handing out goodie bags with king-size candy bars and stickers. She gave one to all of my kids except for my daughter. She ran to me crying and my teen told me that the woman didn't give her a bag because she wouldn't say trick or treat. I went up and explained that she's autistic and doesn't speak much, but the woman refused to give her anything unless she said trick or treat. After some back and forth, I made the kids give the bags back and we left. I texted a group chat with parents in my daughter's classes, both general ed and special ed, gave them the address, and explained what happened so they wouldn't have to deal with that with their kids. Word spread pretty quickly, so that house was not very popular last night, except for some pranks. People even posted about her on Nextdoor. Now she's posting about me and my kids, and this whole thing is blown out of proportion. I was wondering if I was wrong for telling parents not to take their kids to her house. Not the idiot. Who the heck refuses to give candy to a child on Halloween? Much less a non-verbal kid. She's just mad that you spoke the truth about her crappy actions. People make their own decisions on whether or not to go to the house after receiving your information and requests for support. I'm glad to see so many people were supporting neurodivergent kids. We didn't have a ton of kids last night, but one little boy came up and his mom said, "Trick or treat," and he just proceeded to bark like a dog. He was dressed as a dinosaur. I gave him 2 very large handfuls as his mom just sighed at what I assume was not the first barking of the night. Oh my god, that's so adorable and totally something my kid would have done. After all, no one knows what dinosaurs sounded like. I live in one of the go-to neighborhoods for trick-or-treating, and we regularly get over 500 kids come to our door. I don't make them perform for the candy. There is no transaction here beside you show up, you get candy. No costume? You still get candy. Senior in high school? Awesome, here's some candy. I remember a house where I must have been a straggler because the owner thought she was done for the night, so she'd given away all her candy. I showed up and she was like, "I have no more candy, here's $5. I was shocked. People who are mean to kids because they're neurodivergent, or because they have disabilities, or even just because they're shy or don't jump through hoops on command, deserve what they get. Maybe a little public shaming will teach her what she apparently lacks the heart to figure out on her own. There is no reason ever to single out and pick on a small child for being different." My wife, 37, and I, 40 male, got married 12 years ago, and she has been my rock, and our marriage has been really good. Or used to be really good before we went to therapy. My friend was suffering from a lot of mental health issues and we were worried for him. He went to therapy for about 2 years and is doing a lot better. My wife suffered from anxiety and depression and she's a vet, which is a very high-stress job. I recommended she try therapy too and she agreed. She went to therapy for 6 months and said she likes it and wanted me to go with her. I personally find it a little hippy-dippy, but it couldn't hurt, so I agreed. First 2 therapy appointments went well. The therapist, not her personal one, nailed down one thing about my wife. She is extremely distrusting of other humans. She didn't have a good family growing up and her father sold her dog, which she said was her only friend, and she suffered from an eating disorder and almost ended it in her teens. But as an adult, she's relatively well adjusted and she's a great mom to our 2 kids. He asked us to do the Big 5 personality test as homework. It was a long questionnaire and we shared it with him. My trust of others was a 34 and hers was an 8, which is very low. He asked her to tell him what makes her distrust people. She said people were very two-faced and only do what benefited them, and she felt like she has a disadvantage in her life because of her morals. She's very kind to people, which is weird because she doesn't trust them at all. She helps people a lot, and one of her friends even said she's the one they go to for advice because they know she wants the best for them and can keep a secret. She does a lot of unpaid work to help stray animals and is often depressed if an animal passes away. She says she does it because she feels extreme guilt if she doesn't help others. However, she feels people don't feel any guilt if they hurt her, which is why she prefers animals to humans. Then the topic of our marriage and trust came up and she was super tight-lipped about it at first, but then admitted she didn't trust me that much. She said she actually married me because I was honest in being kind of in it for myself. She said she can't stand people who appear kind and compassionate and then lie and backstab and prefers an honest person. I was shocked because I feel like I'm an honest but also kind and generous person, but in her eyes I'm not, but she says it's fine because I'm honest about it. She also admitted she took out the in sickness and in health part of our nuptials because she felt like I would divorce her if she got cancer. She said she was okay with that because it would kill her to expect my support and then be disappointed when she didn't receive it. However, she knew where she stood with me. I've been thinking about her words and it bothers me so much. I asked her out of therapy why she even married me and she said she knew I was hardworking and honest and most people are not kind but that they fake kindness to get ahead. She liked that I didn't and she felt like she really understood me, so she felt safe with me. I told her if she didn't think I was a good person but just an honest one, we should just divorce, and she got mad and told me our marriage was good, we worked together well raising our kids and there wasn't anything serious. To me, I just realised my wife didn't think I was a good person, and I feel like our marriage has been a lie. Am I the idiot for wanting a divorce because of what my wife said in therapy? Edit, I definitely love her, but in therapy she said she thinks she loves me, but also admitted she doesn't know if she can love humans, as humans are generally selfish, destructive, and will take advantage of people weaker than themselves. I'm really worried about whether she loves our kids. She acts like she does, but it's hard to tell because she goes above and beyond for people she worries will backstab her. This honestly sounds above her actual therapist's pay grade. I think you might need to get your own therapist independent of your wife ASAP. I don't think it's that your wife doesn't think you're a good person. I think it's that your wife doesn't think that there are any good people, but thinks that you're better than most. Given your wife's view of humanity, that seems to be a compliment. Yeah, the entire time through reading this, I read nothing but praise for him. OP, your wife. She isn't ever going to trust anyone the way normal people mean trust. She's trying to tell you she's literally offering you as much trust as she's capable of. She's trying to demonstrate in front of a respected third party how much thought and effort went into choosing to take a risk anyway. The real takeaway here is that she's being open and honest in an environment with a therapist and OP, which requires an enormous amount of trust. If she genuinely didn't trust OP, she wouldn't have even been willing to say that. And as hard as it was to hear, it was likely just as hard to say it. Your wife seems to have a very distorted view of people born out of a trauma response. This in itself is incredibly hard to navigate, particularly in relationships. I don't envy her. Yeah, I suspect there's a part of her that knows that this could end with him leaving her. There is a certain type of insecurity that comes with sabotaging your own relationship, when you can later say, I knew it. I don't mean to suggest that she's consciously planning this, but rather that she seeks the familiar by repeating her own past trauma. I, 36 female, have a son, tween, in 6th grade. We'll call Preston, with a teacher we'll call Susan, 50 plus female. Some important background is that Preston is skittish and jumpy. He easily gets startled by noises or voices he doesn't expect, especially if they're loud. I've only seen Susan in person like twice, but she has a distinctly loud, almost thunderous voice. Never heard her yell yet though, but Preston says it always makes him jump a little, and apparently we've heard from other kids and parents that she's known for being ridiculously loud in general. Anyway, I got a voicemail on my phone from Preston using a school phone saying he got detention because Susan yelled at some kids fooling around during work time. He was startled and she noticed, so she made him leave the room, work in the hallway, and called me to tell him he must go to detention next week. I didn't believe that was the reason he got detention at all because that sounds really dumb, and assumed he was just minimizing his role. He does tend to do that when explaining his side if in trouble, so I thought I'd get Susan's side at recess while I went to lunch. I call her and I was completely caught off guard when what she said lined up with everything Preston said to a T. I wasn't sure what to say at first, but I ended up just laughing on the phone before any words could come out. Susan was irritated and asked what was so funny, and I responded that I was so sure that Preston was lying to me because that was such a ridiculous reason to give anyone detention, and that he's not serving detention just for being startled. She tells me that this is not a suggestion and that I'm being obtuse. I stood firm and asked her if she'd think it appropriate if her boss yelled at some fellow teachers. You became startled, and then he proceeded to dock your pay or some other form of punishment. I followed up with, I bet she didn't even do jack squat to the kid she was initially yelling at after noticing Preston. She got quiet for a moment and I thought maybe I convinced her, but then she doubled down and said that failing to serve detention would result in suspension or more, and before hanging up I told her I'd gladly fight her and the school on this if it came to that. I do not intend to punish Preston just for getting startled. We all do it and it's nothing worth making any issue out of. If I'm being honest, I vented to my friend about this later, and she actually did not side with me, saying that I was kind of being an idiot to laugh at Susan, and that teachers don't get paid enough to deal with the things I said, so I want to hear what unbiased people think. Not the idiot, I work in education too. I understand not getting paid enough, and I've seen some entitled parents, but you don't sound entitled. That is a pretty ridiculous reason to punish a child. Some people get startled easily. I'm one of those people. That's not a reason to punish someone. Definitely talk with the principals about this. I was thinking, what if a child has been abused or lived in a chaotic household and therefore would reflexively cower or protect themselves any time an arm or hand is raised? Or they catch that movement out of the corner of their eye. So this teacher would punish that child with detention because of a reflex, or have the sensory processing issues related to being neurodivergent, or just be a human with ears and a functioning startle response. This is what the teacher was banking on, an easy target who doesn't have to support or protect him from this sort of crap. I startle easily. If I got into trouble every time I had a reflex response from a loud noise in the classroom, I would have been expelled several times over. That is easily the stupidest thing I've ever heard to put someone in detention for. Talk to the principal about this ASAP and object. I'd be curious if Susan has actually explained what happened yet to those above her. If they have any common sense, they'd say it's ridiculous. Also, maybe to avoid retaliation, see if he could change rooms and get a different teacher. This might be US defaultism talking, but I'd say it's early enough in the school year to do a switch for the good of your son so this teacher does not pull any more weird power trips like this one.